If you're about to start a job search or you are actively searching for a job, you might have taken in a lot of tips and advice and all that good stuff from social media, whether it's like TikTok, Instagram, Google, whatever. But you might still be thinking like, okay, all this advice, all these tips are great, but I'm still confused as to like where to start. I'm still confused as to what the process could look like. And I just need like a simple linear process to follow, especially for us ADHDers or ADHDers or neurodivergent folks who need like a specific process to follow. I hear you. I'm with you. This is my advice. One, we want to start with figuring out what we want to do. Maybe you have a specific career that you've already chosen, you have experience in it, and you're just like looking for a new job, in which case you can skip step one or not. This step I think could still be relevant to you, but this will be especially helpful for people who are changing careers, transitioning of some kind, starting over, stuff like that. So what I would do first is reflect back on all of the different opportunities you've had, whether it's jobs, volunteering, anything. Think about what you did in those roles and what would you be willing to do again? What are the things that you liked that you would be fine having that be part of your next job? And I would also, with that exercise, list out anything that you don't want to do. So this could include anything like specific about the job, the responsibilities, the tasks, anything that you're like, I don't want to do that again. So write that down too. That is just good info for you to know. Then you're really going to pay attention to that list of the things that you liked, the things that you'd be willing to do in another role. That's going to be important and will help to inform every other aspect of your job search, not just from your resume and the actual searching part, but also throughout your interviews and offer stages too. So this is why I say, even if you're not changing jobs and you're staying in the same general field, same type of position, you still might want to do this exercise, and you can note down things like not just related to the job, but even related to the company or like the team, anything like that. So that's the first thing I would do. Is I call this like the career discovery part. Number two is when we're going to move to the resume. So once you've figured out what you've done before that you'd be willing to do again that you like, then you'll update your resume. If you don't already have a resume, you'll have to write one, but hopefully you already have one kind of formulated, so you just have to go in and tweak it. Obviously, make sure your most recent role is on there, and then I would go into the bullet points. And you don't just want to include like the job description, but I would think through things that are more specific. The idea of the resume is that you are showing on paper what you've done. You're showing the impact, but you're also kind of telling a story. So, and with that, we want to give some context so people can really picture what it is that you were doing, the impact that you had, all that kind of stuff. What I mean by like providing context, painting a picture is, let's say you created or you were planning events. A generic bullet point might be like planned events for this department or something. But a way that you could give more context is like, how frequent were the events? How many people were in attendance? Were they virtual? Were they in person? What was the purpose of them? Did it have a variety of purposes? In which case you could give a couple examples. If you were working on marketing campaigns, what was the structure of that? If you were creating content, how many pieces of content did you have to deliver every week? For which platforms? If you were writing emails, like, what was the size of the email list? Were you doing A/B testing? If you were working in like HR and let's say you were doing onboarding, or if you were more on like the customer side and you were doing customer onboarding, how many customers did you onboard every week? How many new hires did you onboard every week or every month? It can be estimates, like we might not always have the exact numbers, so I would just estimate like kind of what that volume looked like. The reason that helps is, again, like we're painting that picture. So the person who's reviewing your resume can be like, oh, like that volume is very similar to our volume, so I can picture this person doing that. Or like these events are very similar to our events, or, etc. You get the idea. So that's what you want to do when you're writing your resume. Once your resume is updated, then you'll go ahead and go over to your LinkedIn and update that. So I'm sure many of you might have just groaned, rolled your eyes, or went to go skip this part of this video about LinkedIn. I encourage you, as much as we might have a disdain for LinkedIn, still use it. One of my clients who was in a program that recently ended, she hated LinkedIn. Like, she was really hesitant to use it, update it. She wasn't really excited about it, but she did. And she optimized her LinkedIn profile, and within like a week or two, actually got a recruiter who reached out directly to her because based on her LinkedIn profile, it was found that she was a really good fit for this job. And she actually got the job. She starts next week, which is amazing. So LinkedIn does have its purpose. We don't have to pour all of our energy into it, but you do want to be updating it. So the way that you'll optimize your LinkedIn is you'll go in and copy over any updates you made to your resume to your LinkedIn. So in your experience section, list out the company that you worked for, the dates you worked there, paste in those bullet points that you wrote for your resume. Next, this is one of the most important things I hope you do, is update your headline. So a lot of people I've seen make this mistake where they just let their headline default to showing their most recent role, where it just says like job title at company. Please don't do this. Please update it. Include some keywords. You can literally go into your keyboard and use this little button right here above the enter key. If you hit shift and hold this button, it creates a vertical line that you can use to separate your keywords. Let's say you're a graphic designer, you could put your title, line, and then put a couple specialties. So you could do like branding identity. You could do UI, user interface. You could, let's say you work in UX or you work in UX research, and you could put like user testing. You could think about like your impact. What's like the goal result that your work does. So I had a friend who worked as an executive assistant or like an operations manager. And so part of her headline included her title of like EA and ops, and then also included a line of like helping business owners stress less through optimized processes. Just really showing an idea of like what you bring to the table. The reason this is important is because a couple things. So when recruiters and hiring managers are searching for talent on LinkedIn, which most of them do, they are going to be seeing a preview of your profile. And what do they see in that preview? They see your name, they see your headline, and they see your most recent job. That is also why I don't recommend that you let your headline be your most recent job, because then what are they going to see? They're going to see your name, they're going to see your headline, which is your most recent job, and then they're going to see your most recent job. So it's wasting all of this valuable real estate that you could be using instead to give them a better detailed idea of what you do. Also, LinkedIn, like every other social media, uses an algorithm. And so if you are able to put more keywords on your profile, in your headline, in your about section, in your experience section, LinkedIn will give you better matches for potential jobs to apply to, and recruiters and hiring managers will have an easier time finding you when they're looking for folks with your skill set. So now you have done steps 1 through 3. You have discovered the type of career that you want to look for, the type of job that you're interested in, that you'd be willing to do again. You've updated your resume, you've updated your LinkedIn. The next thing to do is to start searching. And so a couple of my key search tips: when you are actually sitting down to search, take stock of how you're feeling. Especially if we've been unemployed for a while, it is very natural to kind of have this like constant underlying feeling of like desperation and anxiety, and that is totally normal. However, I would say if you are in like a heightened state of anxiety and desperation, and you're like, I need a job, I need to just like apply, because like if I'm not applying, then like what am I doing? I encourage you to first take a step back, care for your mind, body, spirit, and then sit down to job search. And so that could look like you make sure you've had a meal, drink some water. Speaking of, have a snack, drink some water, move your body a little bit, whether it's like just some seated stretching and like reaching and just kind of like moving things around, or you could do some yoga, take a walk, just like shake out the energy physically a little bit, move the energy around. You could do something fun, like for me, that would be read a book, play a video game, talk to a friend, just something that by the end of it will make you feel more energized, more positive. You've spent some time just doing something leisurely just for yourself. and then sit down to job search. So that's my first thing, is just like check in with your energy. Make sure that when you are sitting down to job search, it's coming from a place of like, okay, I know I have to do this, but I'm in a good place. I'm excited. I've nourished myself and I'm ready to go. And then I would also set a timer. So I have this cute little rainbow timer that I keep on my desk. I'm an ADHDer, so I'm an ADHDer. So I like to see it visually versus just setting a digital timer on my phone. I don't really like the digital timer because out of sight, out of mind. I like to actually see like the time I have left. And also, anytime I pick up my phone to set the timer or reset it, I end up getting distracted. So the physical one that I can see helps a lot. And so what I would do is I would set aside some time, like 30, 40 minutes at first, and then start working on your search. I recommend setting timers because we can often get like so hyper focused on what we're doing that a lot of time goes by. Then we realize that like we've been working on our search for an hour, 2 hours. We don't feel focused anymore. We feel like we've just been spending too much time on it. It starts to like burn you out. So set a timer, check in with yourself. I also recommend that you time block or that you like chunk together the same actions. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're going to sit down to like start your job search. Maybe it's in the morning, you've had a cup of coffee, you've had some breakfast, you've had some water, and you're like, okay, I'm going to put on like a playlist of music that gets me hype, that like makes me feel good, and then set a timer. So you'll set like a 20-30 minute timer. And then just spend that time searching. So you'll search, you'll open up tabs of the jobs you want to apply for. And then the timer goes off, take a little break, step away from your computer, watch like a 20-minute sitcom, or like talk to a friend, talk to your spouse, go like take a walk or something, and then come back, set another timer for 30 minutes, however much time you have, no more than 45. And then you can go ahead and apply to those jobs. If you still have energy by the time the timer went off, or there's still tasks to do, take another break, then come back. Or you can wait till the next day and like finish them up tomorrow. But that's what I recommend, is like using those timers, using those like chunked time blocked actions to just help like get through the search process. Capitalism makes us feel like we need to constantly be searching, that we need to spend all of our available time searching for work. And that's not very productive, because what happens is we burn ourselves out. And I've seen this firsthand, not only with my own job search, like over the years, but with my clients. Anytime that they have like, maybe they had plans in the morning, by the afternoon, they're like exhausted from their plans, but they're like, I have to job search. I should be looking. I should be applying. So they sit down to search. They're not doing it intentionally. And so they push through an hour, 2 hours, however much time, they dedicate. And then they feel really burnt out either that night or the next day because they didn't check in with themselves first. So those are the different steps that I would take. Discovering the types of jobs and the tasks that you'd be willing to do again. Updating your resume to only reflect those things. Updating your LinkedIn to reflect your resume. And then starting your job search. Being mindful of the time you're spending. Being mindful of how you feel when you're searching. And then some search tips in general. I would recommend filtering and using as many filters as you can. Most importantly, filter by the date that the job was posted, if possible. So looking for jobs that have been posted in the past week, maybe the past 2 weeks. Anything beyond there, you could apply to, but I would recommend first applying to those more recently posted jobs and then move on to the ones that might be a little bit older. So I hope this helps give you a better idea of what your job search strategy looks like. If you would like to have me dig in further into any of these steps, please comment. I'd love to hear from you. If you've tried some of these methods, tell me what's worked, what hasn't worked. Ask questions. I'm here to help, and we'll talk soon.